Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the Project Race
The
GP
marketing
channel.
department has
This
requested a
is the
reboot on this
episode
one.
in which our home Grand Prix is held. British team, British driver, British track, so it's going
The
to be,
department wants me to
well,
pass any
hopefully a
advice for
good
helping
race
out.
anyway. But we are going to advance straight into qualifying. This is qualifying 1, our first lap in, well, the race weekend essentially. I'm really looking forward to this track. I think it's one of my better ones. So luckily we've got 2 good races in a row. However, obviously, if you've watched last episode, you'll know it didn't end too well. Hopefully, this won't be a 3rd DNF in a row. Otherwise, that would be absolutely horrendous luck. But we're going to get on with the lap anyway. A decent sector 1 time. We do go in a bit deep in. We do break a bit early into the left-hander there, coming down through into Cops up here. This is one of the more difficult corners to get right. I never managed to really get the gearing right. I either shift down to 7th too early or too late. I never really get the rotation right. But we managed to get a semi-decent run. We get a good run through Maggots and Beckett's as well. This might be one of the better runs I had throughout the entire race weekend. Dry session in both qualifying and the race, so no curveballs in that sense, which might be a good thing, considering how, although this track seems like it can be easy at times, it's very, what's the word I should use? It's very easy to get caught out of this track. Some of the corners take a lot more focus and patience than you might think. But this is our Q2 lap now. No, Q3, sorry. Because we managed to get all the way up into Q3, which is pretty normal at this point in the career mode, considering the car's performance. It's quite crazy to think how we went from, struggling to be, not last in our My Team car, and now regularly getting into Q3. A bad qualifying session now would be getting knocked out in Q2, but a bad one back in the old car would be, P22. But so it's quite crazy to think how far we've come in a matter of a season. McLaren's definitely realised our talent on track, as we did showcase in multiple occasions last season, especially Austria, which is the next round in the career after this. Sorry. But anyway, back to the lap. We've had a very decent run, no purple sectors though, so it's not looking like we're going to get pole position or anything crazy, although we are 4/10 quicker than Leclerc in 6th, so we might get P5 or above. I still don't think it's going to be enough for pole position, but it just depends on what kind of run we get through here. We should have taken more curb there, as it means we compromised our entrance into the final chicane, but we do manage to get the power down pretty quickly, and it's a decent lap, which puts us P7. We're going to go straight to the 5 lights, in which they are out. We get an absurd amount of wheel spin, which means that we lose out the position to Alonso, and Norris is going to come up our inside as well, but we go right back around the outside of Norris, and we try against Alonso, but he shuts the door, so we go down the inside of both him and Leclerc. That was a lunge if I've ever seen one. Now we're on the back of both Mercedes. This feels more like where we should be. They're going incredibly slow. We tap the back of George Russell just to let him know that we're still here, and they need to get a move on, because they were going incredibly slow. I think one of the Ferraris and one of the Red Bulls were having a battle up the front there, which is why we weren't able to get the power down as quickly as we wanted to. But we're following Russell very nicely through here. We managed to look to the inside, but he really overreacts and completely throws away the position. We only barely put our nose in, and he completely just turned out of the corner to let us through. But I'm not going to complain. That puts us ahead of one of the Mercedes now, which is George Russell, and puts us into P5. We're now on the back of Hamilton in P4. We go really well on the exit. Luckily, no warnings, because we ended up actually losing time from doing that. But anyway, back to the race. We're still in P5, following Hamilton. This section can be really difficult on hot tyres, which our tyres already are, and the mediums obviously aren't as grippy as the softs. And you have to consider with race situations with tyre deg and big fuel loads and stuff, it's very different to qualifying when you can completely chuck the car around. We get a massive snap of oversteer on the exit of the right-hander at the end of Hangar Straight into the chicane. We close up massively to Hamilton. He has a moment, as do we, on the exit, and we go wide yet again, which does give us a warning for exceeding track limits. We're going to skip now though to lap 4. We're still behind him, but we do send a massive move up his inside. That might be the biggest lunge of the career mode so far. That was absolutely incredible. I don't know how we managed to keep the car on the road and not take Hamilton out. That was absolutely insane. We skip again to lap 8 where we've been behind Sainz, draining our battery just to keep up. I do not want to let this podium slip. We go to his inside, and that was a textbook move up the inside at the end of the hang straight. He does look to our inside though. We're going to brake as late as we possibly can. We give him the room on the inside, but he is not able to make anything happen as he looks for a switch back, but he decides better of it as we go through now to lap 9, but we're going to advance again to lap 10 where we go for our pit stop. I was extremely worried about tyre wear coming into this race because the car still isn't very developed and we don't have many tyre wear upgrades, if any. We get an optimal turning onto the hard tyres. Hopefully these should deal with the degradation and temps a lot better, which will allow us to make more moves going into the race. There's 2 yellow flags. We have the Alfa Romeo of Joe out and the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz out, both in the same sector. That's surely got to be a safety car, and it is a safety car. Safety car is deployed. We're going to just skip right to the end of it because there's not much to see during the safety car. No one made a pit stop or anything. So we're right behind Verstappen now in P4. We've kept position. No, sorry, we've lost position. However, that does not mean we can't gain any positions back, as we are going to skip right to the end of the race. We managed to keep with Verstappen for a long time. The other 2 cars ahead of us pit, which is why you can see Gasly and Alonso in 4 and 5. We did manage to keep with Verstappen, as I said, for most of the race. However, on lap 24, I decided that it wasn't worth risking. I was driving very aggressively. As you can see, we've completely worn up our tyres and the temperatures are really high, and I didn't want to risk any punctures or loss of fuel, so I decided to let him go. We'll get the win another time, and a P2 at the home GP in a British car is definitely something that we can't complain about. As Lewis Hamilton actually sets the fastest lap of the race. I didn't actually remember that happening. I thought that Verstappen was going to get it. So it's a shame that he's all the way back there. In fact, both Mercedes are all the way at the back, including one of the Red Bulls. That pit stop has really ruined their race because they pit a lap or 2 after the safety car ended. So it's inevitable that they were going to drop back after that. We've had a decent gap to Leclerc. That's stayed pretty static throughout the race after the safety car. He's also had very good pace, but since we've been back enough, he has been catching up. I think it was about 4 seconds actually at the start of lap 25. But we come through, Max Verstappen gets the fastest lap again. We come through just playing it safe, no risks. We're just going to get it home for P2.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they've secured here.
So that's race over then, the British GP done. The next race is the Austrian Grand Prix. We have a marketing department event to go to. It's an ask the drivers thing, kind of like the Grow the Grid that the real life F1 does, so we're going to accept that. This can give us some pretty good driver acclaim. I think we gained over 3,000 because of the 3 questions, or it might have been 2, I can't exactly remember now. But back to the race, that was an interesting race to say the least. I had a lot of fun racing. Silverstone is always good for racing, even better when it rains, which, let's not forget, it is England, so the chance of that is pretty high. But I think we had a good race. The car is certainly not P2 performance yet, but we managed to just extract everything out of the car. We had a really good setup on. We're going to look at some upgrades now. You can see we're doing pretty well. We have 1 tyre wear upgrade on, there we go. I think right now we have the best engine on the grid, which was definitely showcased in that race actually, I think. I was running more downforce than you usually would at Silverstone, and we were matching the cars ahead. I was having to use a lot of overtake, to be fair. But we're looking at an ERS upgrade now actually. We're going to put that on, I think. which is going to come on after France unless we rush it, but we think better of it, I think. Honestly, one of the most important things when upgrading a car for me is having a good chassis. You can be a lot more confident with the car if you can throw it about with a good chassis. But we are going to put the ERS upgrade on because at the end of the day, overtaking requires a lot of ERS. But that is the end of the episode. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.